So yeah, coming on to that, I think it's kind of blown up a bit for you, hasn't it, with what you've done, and
A little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't really do it for it to blow up, but it's just kind of taken off. And I don't know. I think it's good timing because there aren't many sports and there's nothing going on in the CrossFit season that it's maybe gained a little bit more popularity than it would otherwise.
I think so, definitely. I think if there's other things going off, that it can kind of get maybe drowned out a little bit. But I think obviously what you've done is just nothing short of phenomenal. Like, it's absolutely amazing hitting those numbers. And I think what's more impressive for me is that you've done it. It's great. That's brilliant. But you have the same challenges or commitments that I do, right? You've got a young kid, a family, a full-time job. Like, those are real, commitments of like life commitments, and that's, I can resonate with that. And like, you've still done it, and that's quite inspiring for a lot of people out there. So I think people need to look at that specifically as well, to say this is the life that this guy lives, and he's still achieving that. He's still going out there and doing that. So
yeah, it's funny. I actually just listened to your last YouTube video this morning before. And you mentioned that, and I don't know, I didn't really think of that until really you said it. But yeah, I have a kid and a job, and I guess the cool thing is it wasn't like one of the elite professional CrossFitters that is their job, and so I think it gives hope for other people to set goals like this and to see what they can do.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely going to get a lot of people kind of thinking of where they're at and what they can achieve. And, you've got the same environment, COVID, lockdown, all of that stuff. So it's very real,
This goal is pretty easily accessible. I mean, it's running. Anybody can run outside. Yeah. I mean, more people than not actually have a squat rack even in their garage that, they can do something like that. So
it's kind of leading on to, I think you've probably had these questions 100 times now, but you've hit these, you've hit this massive achievement, which is great. And I watched the video, thought it was absolutely phenomenal. But my then thinking is, the next question for me is, what's the plans for you as an athlete now? You're hitting more than what most can hit it, the CrossFit Games.
Sure.
Like, what's your plans? Are you going to be sort of going toe to toe with these guys? Are you going to be entering the CrossFit Games, or is that not on cards for you?
So that's always been my goal. Is one, the Smiths have trusted me to run their gym. So first and foremost, that's where I put my energy. I put my energy into my family. And then with whatever I have left, that's what I put into training. So I've been close, and I was actually in 2018, I was 2 spots away from making the Games. So I've been kind of right on the doorstep, just haven't quite made the Games yet. But depending on what the season holds, I don't know. I can't say it's looking great for the CrossFit Games to even happen this year.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't feel that it's going to happen, to be honest with you. So.
And then depending on what the season does, like, I'd like to still compete and give it a go and see what I can do athletically as a CrossFitter. I mean, that's why I got into the sport. And I had a sanctional lined up this past year that got canceled, and I think I'm like automatically qualified for it next year. So, if that happened, maybe do that and another 1 or 2 and seeing what I can do there. And if the season doesn't happen, then maybe I'll come up with another one of these goals for myself. But I always feel like I have to have a goal when I train. And doing this now, I've actually seen how that's inspired other people to have a goal. So I just hope that, if people take one thing away from this, like, yes, cool, it's impressive, but I'd also like to be able to inspire people that no matter what you're doing, you can still have a goal to work towards. And I find that gives me a purpose in my training.
I definitely agree wholeheartedly with that. And I think that doing something like this is quite significant, and it's landed, well with a lot of people, just the average CrossFit community like myself and many others, and more of the kind of RX elite people and to your level and even higher. But so in terms of your training and typical day, you have your commitments, you've got your young kid, family, full-time job, classes. What does your typical day, what does Adam Klink's typical day look like? Because I suppose I'm being a bit nosy here because I want to try and, emulate some of this stuff as well, see what you can bring into your own routines.
I'm the early morning coach at the gym. So I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, and I typically coach the 5 and 6 o'clock class in the morning. Then I have a free hour that I usually give myself. So from 7 to 8 a.m., I usually get a training session in. So I get that session in. When I was training for this, I'd do my runs or my squats. As I went, I kind of tailored it. So I would run in my morning session, and then opposite days I'd squat in the afternoon, just because that's what I was going to do when I was going to test it. That was the plan. So I get an hour session there, and then I'll usually coach an 8 a.m. class. And then I'll go home, I'll take over. My wife gets ready for work and leaves for work. And then I have my son in the afternoon, and he goes down around 12:30, which is why I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
So
the 5-hour difference.
I'm hanging with him, and he's at that age where like you can get very little done just because they're all over the place. He's almost 1.5 years old, so he's just into everything. So
there's more to come. Is it just the only one you've got? Is it? Yeah,
just the one right now. Yeah.
So my daughter's 3, and I've just had a week off with her, and it's honestly tiring. It's exhausting.
Tiring. And parents get that. If you don't have a kid, you don't understand that. So
no, I know. Yeah. So each phase of their development presents a different challenge, and you go through it, evolves. So
yeah, but it's awesome. Like I love every minute of it, and
absolutely.
It's a joy,
so it's a pretty full on schedule for you then.
Yeah, so then he'll go down for a nap, and then I'll have an hour before I go back to the gym where maybe I'll sneak in something in the garage workout-wise, or I'll get something done that I have to get done, which had gotten done earlier. And then I go back to the gym. I try to get there maybe a little after 2, and then I'll coach another class or 2 in the earlier afternoon, and then I'm usually leaving the gym no later than 5 p.m. And then the process starts.
Nighttime routine.
Big dinner, bath time, bedtime. We then make our dinner, and before we know it, it's way too late, and we should have gone to bed earlier, and we do it all again. So really, I'm getting usually 2-hour sessions in, if I'm lucky, and then like sometimes I'll sneak another little piece in if I have like 10, 20, 30 minutes that I can just get something in. But it's usually like 2 1-hour sessions, which for like a professional CrossFitter, that's not a lot at all. So I've been very purposeful with my training, and when I trained to hit this goal, I want a lot of people to know that, one, this wasn't just 10 weeks of work. I've been an athlete all my life, and this was 10 plus years in the making, playing college soccer and training beyond that. Like I tested my numbers initially, and I was at a 546 mile and like a 475 back squat, but I've been well over 500 on my back squat. So relatively, I didn't have a huge way to go. I was relatively close. People saying, yeah, my mile is 630 and I have a 405 back squat. Like, you got a few years to go probably.
Yeah.
The thing that people are going to miss, I think, is, sometimes it doesn't really matter how much time you have to train. If you have an hour to train, that's perfect. But I think the thing that people need to take away from this is the intensity and the intent in which I trained at. Every running session, every squat, every warm-up rep, it was 100% of my focus. It was 100% of my effort. And I think the intensity at which I trained for those sessions, which really weren't more than 20 minutes of running at a time, and they weren't more than 4 or 5 working sets for back squats, but the effort I put into those are what helped me reach this goal.
Yeah, because you've got a specific time slot, you need to get that in, so you kind of attack that with full force, and a lot of kind of it's meaningful work within that time frame. I suppose where my strengths are is not strength. Metabolic conditioning. I could I'm pretty handy at that sort of stuff. But when I saw you did, I was like 227 kilos. I was like, what the hell? Like that's insane. Like, it's just crazy.
Most people are one or the other, right? They're a little better at strength. They're a little better at the endurance. But that's, in theory, what CrossFit's trying to prove is how balanced can we be. So that's why it's just kind of the perfect test for that.
What advice would you give to an aspiring athlete wanting to reach the top? Like, what does someone, what advice would you give to an aspiring athlete?
Yeah, so I have 2 things I think that really kind of have set us apart and contributed to our success, being me and the Smith brothers at CrossFit Krypton is, and this goes along with what I just did, is one, setting goals for yourself. And I know Ben, every year, he would sit down and on a sheet of paper, he would write down maybe 10, 15, even 20 goals, and he'd tape it up in his garage. And as he'd hit them throughout the year.
That was on a documentary, wasn't it, that we saw?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing that, I might not have 10 goals that I wrote down right away, but I have a goal or two that I'm trying to accomplish. Maybe it's trying to hit a certain number in a lift. Maybe it's trying to run a certain pace or row a certain pace. And it's even something we instilled in our gym. We have what's called the movement of the month, where we test a movement, say snatch. We test it in the beginning of the month. We set a goal for ourselves, an attainable goal to hit by the end of the month, and we do a little extra work, and then we retest at the end. So, I mean, it's something we believe in to the point where that's what we're coaching our members at the gym to do. But I think the second thing and piece of advice I'd give them is you need to find a group of like-minded people who basically to surround yourself with to push you to that next level. And I think that's what we found in our community, in our gym, is just that group of people who just want to get better, and then we feed off of each other. And I know, obviously right now it's kind of hard. Everybody's working out in their garage gyms, but and maybe it's not somebody in person. Maybe it's just an accountability partner that you talk to, or maybe it's, a buddy of yours that you compare times to or something like that. But I think finding people to help push you and compete against really, really helps as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that the environment shapes or influences and shapes your behavior. And, if you've got someone that you can kind of go toe to toe with, you always push that needle forward to try and better yourself or try and better them in a nice competitive manner. Thanks for the questions. And when we come over to the States again, which we're planning on doing so in 2022, not this year, next year.
Yeah.
So we'll be going to the games that year. So if you're about, it'd be good to grab a session or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds great. We'll keep
in touch. All right. Definitely, Adam. All right. You take care of yourself, mate. I appreciate your time.
Take care.
Take care. Cheers.